As well, Katie Benner and Gideon Resnick joining me here in New York. And outside the White House, there's our exclusive interview with Russian President Vladimir Putin, who is denying any Russian government involvement after U.S. charges of election meddling. What about Russian citizens who've been indicted in the special counsel's investigation? NBC's Megyn Kelly asked him about that.
We cannot respond to that if they do not violate Russian laws.
Would this violate Russian law?
I have to see first what they've done. Give us materials. Give us information.
Hacking into the Democratic National Committee, creating interference in our election by creating bots that spread false information on Twitter, on Facebook, spreading misinformation when it comes to Black Lives Matter, when it comes to our presidential election. That's what I'm talking about.
With all due respect for you personally, with all due respect for Congress, you must have people with legal degrees. 100% you do. And people who are well educated who must understand that we, Russia, cannot prosecute anyone if they have not violated Russian law. If you don't have a legal degree, I can explain to you.
I do.
Then you have to understand what it takes is an official request to the General Prosecutor of the Russian Federation. Give us a document. Give us an official request.
You said that the last time, and now I'm back with an indictment.
This has to go through official channels, not through the press or yelling and hollering in the United States Congress.
A sporting interview, I think it's fair to say. With us now, NBC News military analyst Barry McCaffrey, a retired four-star general, former member of the National Security Council, and former Gulf War Division commander and analyst for us here at NBC News. Let me just get your reaction to what you heard there, what we've heard from President Putin in that interview with NBC News, and also the speech that he delivered this week, General.
Well, that was a terrific interview by Megyn Kelly. She is one sharp person. Look, Putin is presiding over a disaster in Russia. Their economy is smaller than that of California. Their strategic armed forces are a wreck, particularly naval and air power. They depend, about the only thing they make that anybody prizes is oil and natural gas, and the price of that's way down because of U.S. production. He's on the wrong side of the war in the Middle East, the Sunni-Shia conflict that's embroiling Syria in particular. He's in trouble. He's a very smart KGB thug who has alienated and frightened his neighbors and is now under tremendous economic constraints. And this new nuclear missiles he's announced is nonsense. It didn't
give us your perspective on that. He did it during a speech this week. Show some animations indicate that the Russian Federation has developed some new tools.
Yeah, well, look, the U.S. and the current Russian Federation both have a lot of nuclear weapons. There is no strategic concept under which either side could attack the other side and win a nuclear conflict. So he's putting up concepts that are novel. I don't think they've been deployed yet or feasible, and they just don't change the strategic balance at all. So I think that was for domestic audiences. He's trying to, the Russian people felt humiliated by the demise of the Soviet Union in many cases. So he's talking to his own people. There's an election coming up. He is trying to intimidate his neighbors, you know, the Baltic republics, Poland, you name it. But there's no heft to the Russian Federation almost in any area, and that includes their armed forces.
General, there's some reporting here that there's an effort to get General H.R. McMaster out of his position as National Security Advisor. Let me just draw upon your experience, your knowledge of high-level members of the U.S. Army, of the military. Just give me your sense of where he fits in. He wrote this book, Dereliction of Duty, has a history as a thoughtful, intellectual, a soldier. What do you make of these reports here, that he's not fitting in well, or they'd like to see him outside the White House?
Well, there's no question about it. H.R. McMaster is a defense intellectual, doctorate from UNC, Silver Star, one of the best tactical battle commanders we've ever seen in modern times, a very experienced guy who speaks truth to power. You know, I was astonished that Trump hired him. A guy that wrote a book as a captain taking on the Joint Chiefs of Staff is not somebody that's going to be a sycophant inside the White House. Apparently, there's also some conflicts with Secretary Mattis. That's sort of par for the course. The National Security Advisor is the closest guy to the president, the last one in the room, the last word on the issue. there's always an alienation of some level between SecDef and SecState and the National Security Advisor. Now they got a couple of names floating around. I think HR is going. One of them, who I actually haven't met, Stephen Begun, tremendous background in national security. So to my astonishment, apparently he's willing to take on the job. They got another, Josh Bolton, former UN ambassador for the United States, who will make Steve Bannon look like Nancy Pelosi. So there's some concern about who would replace HR McMaster, who's brilliant, has integrity, and a lot of experience.
All right, General McCaffrey, thank you very much for the time this afternoon. That's General Barry McCaffrey joining us. And tweeting on tariffs, President Trump takes to Twitter to defend his